Based on a true story in the small town of Westbrook, Samuel Hayes was known as a hardworking man with a gentle spirit. He lived a quiet life, tending to his farm and helping his neighbors. But his peaceful existence shattered one fateful night when a murder occurred in the town, a brutal killing that left the town in shock. Samuel was accused of the crime, and despite his pleas of innocence, he was arrested. The evidence seemed damning. His fingerprints were found on the weapon, a blood-stained knife that had once belonged to him. The motive was clear. Samuel had been in a bitter dispute with the victim, a wealthy landowner named Thomas Green. The trial was swift, and without any real defense, Samuel was sentenced to death by hanging. As the day of his execution approached, Samuel sat in his cell, his mind racing. He had never harmed anyone, let alone killed a man. He wondered how his life had been torn apart by a crime he didn't commit. The night before his execution, as he lay in the cold, lonely cell, he whispered a vow: "If I die tomorrow, I will return, and they will all feel my wrath." The next morning, Samuel was led to the gallows. The crowd gathered, murmuring in anticipation as the noose was placed around his neck. With one final look at the heavens, Samuel felt the trapdoor fall beneath him. The last breath left his body, and his life was snuffed out in an instant, but something strange happened. As the town buried him in an unmarked grave, something stirred beneath the soil. A dark force awakened. Samuel's wrath, fueled by years of injustice and the burning need for vengeance, was not extinguished by death. It grew stronger, more vengeful, until the ground above him cracked open and a shadowy figure emerged. For years, the town of Westbrook experienced strange, unexplainable events: creaking floorboards in empty houses, whispers in the wind, and shadows lurking in corners. People who had been involved in Samuel's trial began to die under mysterious circumstances. The judge who sentenced him, the prosecutor who ensured his conviction, and even the sheriff who had been the first to arrest him. Each of them died in a similar way. They were hanged, just as Samuel had been, their faces contorted in terror. But when their bodies were found, no one could explain how they had died. There were no ropes, no signs of struggle, just the unmistakable image of a man's wrathful expression frozen on their faces. Years later, a young investigator named Emily Reynolds arrived in Westbrook, intrigued by the strange rumors. She dug into the town's past, uncovering the true story of Samuel Hayes. What she discovered horrified her. Samuel's death had not been an accident. He had been framed by Thomas Green's family to seize his land. The fingerprints on the knife had been planted, the testimony fabricated. But the most disturbing part was the final twist. The last piece of evidence she found was a letter from Samuel, written just before his death. In it, Samuel wrote, "I will return for those who wronged me. You may have taken my life, but you will never escape my wrath. I will hang you all, one by one, until the truth is known." Emily realized with chilling clarity, Samuel's wrath had not been a simple ghost seeking vengeance. It was a curse, an ancient, dark power born from the injustice done to him. The curse had grown, taking the lives of the guilty, leaving them to suffer the same fate they had sentenced Samuel to. And as Emily stood over the grave of Samuel Hayes, she heard a whisper in the wind, a voice as cold and vengeful as death itself. "You can't escape. You never will." The wrath of an innocent man had become something far more terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined.